Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I know that there's a lot of technical difficulties going on and getting in here this afternoon. I myself had some difficulty, but we're here. We're started. All our presenters are ready to go. Welcome to today's presentation of the CURC webinar series, Plastic Policy, Innovations on Water Bottle Bills, Bans, and Behavior Change, although we're going to be talking about so much more than that today. My name is Eric Halverson. I'm the program coordinator for the College and University Recycling Coalition, and I'll be your moderator for today. For those of you not familiar with CURC, the College and University Recycling Coalition is a member-based organization that works to grow collegiate recycling and waste reduction efforts by fostering technical information exchange and networking opportunities between the staff and student leaders implementing programs around the country and outside of the country as well. Today's program is part of our free CURC webinar series, which is designed to highlight innovative campus programs and provide trends and perspectives on a broad range of operational, educational, and other topics related to collegiate recycling and sustainable materials management. Today's program is the second webinar in our 2020 series this year. I want to thank our partner, AASHE, for the technical and logistical support for this webinar series. And before we begin, there's a few housekeeping notes. If you have problems with your audio or video, like some are, you can reach a live technician by calling GoToWebinar's customer support line at 800-263-6317. Although I did call that support line just before this started, and it seems they're pretty swamped with everything going on. So to avoid background noise, can people hear my audio out there? Some people are saying they cannot. Okay, we've got some yeses, all good. Thank you so much for your patience again today. Maybe somebody out there does need some technical support from GoToWebinar. I hope they can hear that. But to avoid background noise, we've placed all but our panelists' lines on mute today. We encourage you to submit questions at any time, however, by using the dashboard on the right side of your screen. Simply click the plus symbol where it says questions to type us a note, and we will read as many of these as possible out loud at the end of the presentations. And then copies of today's presentation slides and a recording will be available to download and stream on our website, curc3r.org. That's www.curc3r.org within the next day or so. So these are our awesome presenters for today. That includes, as we go across the board, Suzanne Heron, the Sustainability Coordinator for Vanderbilt University Campus Dining. Bonny, Bentzin, Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer with the University of California, Los Angeles. And as I believe also a Zero Waste Coordinator might be able to join us from them as well. And then we'll hear from Gioia Thompson, Director of the Office of Sustainability at the University of Vermont. And these three presentations are from coast to coast, places in the middle, about all different experiences they've had working on plastic policies on their respective campuses in all different types of ways. And I'm really excited to hear from what each of them has to share today. But to begin, we will invite Suzanne from Vanderbilt University to join us, and I'll read Suzanne's bio for us all to get familiar. Suzanne is the Sustainability Coordinator for Vanderbilt University Campus Dining. She has worked for Campus Dining for 21 years, and in this role, Suzanne has been the leader in guiding the department's sustainability efforts in recycling, composting, sustainable purchasing, waste reduction, and campus community outreach. While in this role, Vanderbilt Campus Dining has been awarded the Greenest Group on Campus award twice. And last year, Suzanne was named the Greenest Commodore on campus. Suzanne enjoys working with the Vanderbilt community and finding ways in which the campus can be more sustainable. And Suzanne's personal interests include travel, running, and vegetarian cooking. So thank you, Suzanne. And I'm going to unmute you so you can tell us all about what you've been working on.
Hi, Eric. Thanks. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to speaking with everyone. I'm going to give you a little brief overview that I think might be helpful regarding Vanderbilt, our department. We have, first of all, we're self-operating, and we have 20 locations on campus, 2 main dining facilities, 3 residential colleges with dining facilities in each college, as well as a few cafes on campus, smaller restaurants, and 5 convenience stores. So in trying to be good stewards of our resources, we have the potential to either handle our waste in a very responsible manner and try to eliminate as much of that as possible, or we have the potential to contribute a lot of waste, right? So what we are doing in terms of plastic, I'll start there. Fall of 2018, first of all, we work very closely. Our department works very closely with plant operations as well as Sustain VU, which is its own office on campus. And we're constantly partnering with these 2 departments as well as student organizations and groups to facilitate more sustainability on campus. So beginning fall semester of 2018, we started looking at just the simple things we could do to help eliminate plastic. We recognized that it was, across our country and across globally, it's an issue. It's a terrible issue. So we started very small. We that particular semester, we eliminated plastic bags for to-go, for anything that was to go. We eliminated lids and straws for beverages. We didn't hear any complaints regarding that. It was relatively painless. We just thought we're going to start eliminating the unnecessary plastic that we had put out there for convenience purposes more than anything. So again, the bags were gone, the lids were gone, the straws were gone, and that made an impact. And then we decided when we opened back up at let's see, this would have been fall 2019, this current school year, we eliminated all bottled water and all bottled soda that we were selling in our facilities on campus. That was a rather bold move, but we felt like it was absolutely the right thing to do. So we no longer make bottled water or bottled soda available in any of our dining operations. We thought that perhaps there might be some backlash on that, but we were very pleasantly surprised to find out that the Vanderbilt community understood the importance of this move, and parents of students themselves, faculty and staff thought that this was the right thing to do. So again, we did not incur any wrath, so to speak, from the campus community. We were very happy about that. I will say that the work that went into this, besides just making the decision to do the right thing, we have a CURC contract. And so CURC controls approximately 90% of what we sell in our C stores. And with that in mind, after reading the contract and going over it very carefully, we realized it did not stipulate at all that the product that we order and carry and make available, it did not stipulate that it had to be bottled water or bottled soda. So we decided we would stop selling the bottled water altogether. We continue to sell Coke products, but only those products that come in cans, which are easily recyclable. And I will say that it was challenging. Coke did not embrace that change. But after many, many meetings, and for them to understand that, legally we had the right to not carry bottled water and soda, and that we would no longer be carrying bottled water and soda, they understood. So we have a new, let's see, that contract is up, I believe, in June or July this summer, and we'll have a new contract in place. But going forward, there will be no bottled water or bottled soda on campus. And so that was a large impact. What we realized through looking through information was that we were selling over 400,000 bottles of bottled water alone each school year, and that is significant and it's unnecessary. So what we did to help mitigate circumstances there, we want people to have plenty of water to drink, but what we did was we partnered with several student groups, Plan Ops, Sustain VU, the Green Fund, and we made reusable, really nice, high quality, reusable water bottles available to every undergraduate when they returned to campus fall of 2019. So we gave each student a reusable water bottle. We have hydration stations that were installed across campus. So there's plenty of access to free filtered water across campus and also in our dining facility. So, bottled water has become something that we've made an unnecessary evil. There's no reason as a society that we should have to rely on bottled water. When I was in school, we didn't have bottled water. That was quite a while ago. But, if you have access to free filtered water, a nice reusable water bottle, there's absolutely no reason to even offer that. So things went quite well with that initiative. We do work with Cisco, Creation Gardens, which is a regional distributor, as well as United Natural Foods. And so what we're trying to do to branch out further is to limit anything that uses that contributes to the plastic issue, such as packaging. In our convenience stores, for instance, we are looking at offering only those items, the grab-and-go items that do not contain plastic. I can tell you that that's challenging. A lot of vendors have not caught up in this country to sustainably producing packaged foods and products. There are a few out there, and we will be partnering with those in particular to offer packaging that is compostable, that does not contain plastic, packaging that can be recycled. So that is currently on my to-do list this summer, and I've been working on partnering with some different people, different vendors, and as well as our rep at United Natural Foods, and sourcing these companies that are sustainably packaging foods so that we can eliminate further this unnecessary waste from the waste stream. One thing that I will tell you that's been beneficial for us at campus dining at Vanderbilt is to create working groups. We've partnered with different leaders from different departments, a plastic bottle elimination group, so that even though we're not selling the bottled water on campus, it's still available for purchase by different departments. And eventually that will be phased out and unavailable to them. But we wanted to reach out to them ahead of the curve and just let them know, there are solutions. You don't have to offer bottled water in your departments. You can get, if you have a refrigerator in your department that has filtered water, use reusable glasses and cups, use your reusable water bottles. There are water services such as Culligan that will come in and service your offices. You can even use something simple like a water pitcher, like Brita, and just use reusable cups and glassware and that kind of thing so that we can eliminate the waste. We've partnered with upper administration, human resources, various departments, as well as purchasing. We also partnered with commencement and special events because at commencement, unfortunately, there will not be a commencement ceremony this year at Vanderbilt because of the coronavirus. But looking forward to the future, we will make free filtered water available with compostable cups. We'll have reusable water bottles. We will eliminate, again, going completely plastic free for these special events and commencement ceremonies. So we're excited about the difference that makes. The leaders in our different departments across campus have been very helpful in partnering with us. Everyone's very open to finding solutions. We work with one student group in particular, SPEAR, and that's an acronym for Students Promoting Environmental Awareness and Responsibility. And they've been very helpful in getting the word out about how we can eliminate waste across campus and what we can do to further those efforts. So what I would just say is, right now I don't think we have anything in terms of contract language that stipulates things do or do not come in plastic, other than we're just simply not buying those items. I think looking forward to the future, there will be language and contracts and purchasing that will stipulate these types of things. So basically, that's our overview at Vanderbilt. And thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for sharing. There's a few questions that we'll be able to take right now, and then
sure,
we'll move on. One of the questions is a clarification about eliminating bottled water and how those have appeared in retail versus the resident dining areas, and if you've done it across all of these, or what that process was like. Was it all at once, or were they separate kind of things to work on?
We've eliminated making plastic bottled water available in our departments, in our dining units, campus wide. So campus dining does not offer bottled water at all. It's not available in our main dining facilities. We have free filtered water available in all of our dining facilities, and we do not sell at retail. So there are no bottles of plastic bottles of water available at Vanderbilt in our dining facilities.
Gotcha. And does that include vending machines across the campus?
It does.
Okay. Could you talk about, we have some questions here about approaching this kind of shift, which a revenue change, and some people might be looking for return on investment when they propose maybe purchasing plans or policies to be written in, and if you got any pushback from that, and what have you lost or shifted during this transition?
In looking at sales figures, of course, we're not selling bottled water, so those sales aren't there, but it looks like, based on the information that we've gleaned from sales reports, that we're still selling bottled products, not canned products, rather. I don't know if students are buying more soda. I don't know if they're buying more canned juices, that type of thing. But the revenue has not been, there's been some impact from that, but it's not hugely significant. And even if it were, we feel like making the reduction in the waste stream with the plastic is worth it. It's just simply the right thing to do.
Yeah, thank you. And when you were working with Coke and saying that you were kind of trying to explain this policy to them, this person is wondering if the cans only affected any negotiations or sponsorship fees with new contracts, or I know that you're in a period of transition of contracts right now, but could you speak on that relationship?
Sure. Yeah, we're still under the Coke contract. The current contract expires this summer, so we have not. We have handled this as the Coke contract stipulates. It's just that I think Coke didn't understand or didn't want to understand that we would no longer be using bottled product. So some of those meetings were a little contentious, but legally speaking, we had every right to do that. So going forward, they certainly understand that we're not going back to where we came from. Those conversations that will be taking place in the future, we will be, again, standing up and saying we're not carrying bottled water, we're not carrying bottled soda, and we'll see where the contract goes. Ultimately, we're doing what's right for the environment, not what's right for Coke.
Okay, and then one last question here. This one's about switching vending machines to handle cans, and was that a big process to switch those kind of machines around campus to switch sell cans, or
I I'm unaware of that being a larger issue. I personally do not handle or am not that involved in the vending machines. Our purchasing manager handles vending with Coke, but I do know that that was something that was worked on in advance and those changes were made. If there were issues or any hardships from that, I'm unaware of them. I feel like I would have heard something about it, as Jay and I work very closely together, and our offices are just next door to each other. So I'm totally unaware of any hardships that caused. Again, going back to the contract, we were going by the contract, and I'm unaware of any hardships that it created.
Okay. Thank you so much for fielding those questions. Thank you for walking us through what this process has been like for you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Up next, we're going to have Bonny and Kikei from the University of California, Los Angeles. So Bonny Bentzin, the Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer at UCLA, has the floor. As soon as I unmute Bonny. Welcome.
And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I have a lot of things open. That's the way I work. And okay, since Kikei's showing herself, I will show myself. Kikei, can you just say something so we know that your sound is working?
Hi, I hope you're not hearing all the lawn mowing that's going outside my window, but if you do, I will mute myself until it's time for me to talk.
And I'll admit, I had to find my styling spray this morning, and my hair is like, wow, you haven't, had your hair dried in over a month, and it's saying it doesn't know what it wants to do. So now I'm not sure why I can't see my how do I advance the slides? It's not, I had it on sharing it and I can't, there it is, okay. All right, so I'm Bonny Bentzin, Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer for UCLA. Kikei Wong is our Zero Waste Coordinator and came to us just over a year and a half ago with from the public sector, from a lot of waste experience, and it is a great asset. Just a quick background, UCLA is a small city. We are 419 acres. We've got 3 adjacent hospitals, 18 million square feet, 14,500 beds on campus, and another 5,000 beds coming, and a lot of different food service stakeholders on the campus, 45,000 students, and an 80,000 daily population. So I also mentioned there's a lot of text in these slides. It's partly to keep us on track because we can be ADD, but also figured that you would have them as a resource later. Just a little bit of the timeline. So the University of California, we work together as a system, the 10 campuses, on a zero waste working group and sustainable purchasing practices working group and others. We identify statewide types of, system-wide types of policies and approaches and work together in creating those. The first one of those after our zero waste goal, which we'll discuss in a second, was establishing a system-wide styrofoam policy, and that was in around 2018. So that was something that really started on this road of looking at the products and materials that were being used on campus. Our sister system, California State University, actually established a system-wide policy a year prior to us. So I wanted to really point that out. And we have a link to their policy and the UC policies at the end, last slide. And then in 2019, we started to work on our single-use plastics ban inspired by our CSU system. And again, through that zero waste working group. Then while that was being developed, our on-campus, there'd been a lot of discussion and conversations from various student groups asking for changes. They had gotten straws off the campus earlier in the year. And so CalPIRG actually met with our administrative vice chancellor, and he decided that even though he knew that there was a system-wide ban being developed, that he wanted to preempt that ban and develop a UCLA ban, and that it would have some stronger, more stringent goals related to completion dates. So Kiki, do you want to talk about the goal, the zero waste goal?
All right, there I go. I'm gonna mute it now. So I had the zero waste goal, and originally it was zero waste by 2020. None of the UCs were able to reach that goal for various reasons, and we wanted to step back and kind of analyze what we could do to move forward. But to just summarize the goal, it was included in the Sustainable Practices Policy for the UC system. And again, you'll find the document at the very end if you want to reference it in its full text. But overall, it really prioritizes the waste hierarchy to reduce, reuse, and then recycle compost. I want to also add that we are finding ways to donate and kind of move around furniture that we often find in surplus, promote a circular economy, and emphasize organics collection. There's a lot of food waste going on our campuses with dining, with catering, with all the different vendors, and especially with sports venues. Waste reporting includes tracking estimated scope 3 greenhouse gases, and then to define our per capita municipal solid waste generation. This doesn't include the health system, they do report separately, but we want to make it tiered so that we have goals that we hit by 2020, 2025, and 2030. Again, our zero waste definition is defined by international terms, so a minimum of 90% waste diversion from landfill. And then to go one step further, to ban packaging foam by 2020, except for those that are a little bit harder to get rid of, which includes laboratory supplies, medical packaging, and some products. We do want to mention that some of our vendors have moved away from the packaging foam from like computer products. They are moving towards a plant fiber base, which is amazing. And as we go on, we will continue to look forward to finding more alternatives, reducing, and maybe even sharing some of the packaging foam in case there are needs to mail things out. A medical or laboratory facility can say, hey, I have this really good foam here, can I just borrow it? So that way we're not just landfilling it, we can just reuse it instead. So that also includes no packaging foam or styrofoam EPS altogether in our food services. So you won't find it in a takeaway container at all, or in a cup or anything.
And that was actually something that we already had on most of the campuses for the university organizations. But creating the styrofoam policy was important because of just what we heard from our lease managers and whatnot, was saying we need to see a policy for us to actually push our leaseholders for changes. And also I'll mention that on the policy, the medical waste piece, the Thermoscientific has told us that they will be working on completely phasing out styrofoam coolers. So that was really the goal behind these areas, establishing that policy.
And they are piloting some cardboard coolers instead that are insulated, which is amazing.
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to read out all of these, the UC policy, but basically it addresses plastic bags in 2021, single-use plastic foodware accessory items in 2021, and then by 2023 addresses the single-use plastic beverage bottles and those types of things, and also prioritizing if prepackaged foods that are processed off campus, that the preference should in the award should be through locally compostable and locally recyclable packaging options. And that locally compostable is very important, as you can imagine. And in particular, and I'll mention this a little bit later as well, the city of Santa Monica has actually established that it needs to be marine compostable, because they're the first city using that term. And so that's something that we're going to be pushing toward as well. So the UCLA policy, again, reflects the UC policy just with some of the earlier targets. So the plastic bags in 2020 and other things, again, like you can see here on this list. I won't read everything, but phases it in a couple of years earlier, with the exception of the 2023 for the bottled water, and that is because it aligns with our Coke purchasing policy. So Suzanne, I'm looking forward to talking with you more, because we've had many conversations with Coke. They've been interesting. So for the development and the adoption of it, the UC policy was developed using the CSU and the City of Santa Monica for inspiration. That work for the UC policy was done again by a small subgroup of the Zero Waste Working Group. Erin Fabris on our campus was a lead in that, and her contact is on the end of this slide, the last slide, but also some people from our central office, or Ryan Bell, for example, and some other reps from other campuses. The UCLA policy, again, is based off of the UC policy with a more aggressive timeline, and is in alignment with our zero waste efforts. It's been our write-up, our policy has been vetted through some key departments. There was quite a bit of conversation about this. So we are actually, I should mention that we are still, we're moving into a 1-month comment period as required by policy. It was delayed due to COVID and a few other things, but we've basically worked through all the concerns with these departments. And it was a series of months for them to become a little more comfortable with this. And our administrative vice chancellor happens to be over most of those departments, so that really helped as well. And then we did a public announcement with our CalPIRG students. And so that's where we are. And then for implementation, so many conversations with our pouring rights holder, like I said, Coke. The history is that we've been phasing out sugary drinks as part of our Healthy Campus initiative. So we've been moving them down to the lower level on the vending machines. In our dining halls, they had moved off of them completely, with the exception of the to-go areas. And had actually moved off of sugar drinks to juice spritzers in one facility, and we're expanding it. That caused some concern from Coke, and suddenly they became very active on the campus last year. When they found out that we were vetting a policy, they became even more active and wanted to weigh in on it. We did not allow that. They have made many comments about how their bottles are reusable, and that we should, that they really believe that. And so that's been some interesting heated conversations, Suzanne, just like you had mentioned in your exchanges with them. We have asked them to put together, and they've provided this with us. It's proprietary, unfortunately, but all the different products that they're selling on the campus, what is the current packaging, what's the volume, and what are their plans for transitions. So I'm very excited to hear that the transitions have already been made on Vanderbilt. That contract is, like I said, due up on 2023, and we've made it clear that this is something that's going to be very important in the review of the future contract. We made a short presentation to our commencement planning committee that was happening before COVID started. And honestly, Kikei and I were expecting to have maybe some tomatoes thrown at us, but what we found was everyone was just nods and smiles, and some people coming up afterwards saying that they were quite excited about it, and could we provide some resources for them, such as caterers that can comply. We also are working heavily to install outdoor hydration stations, starting in the areas that will meet both event needs and student needs, and making sure that we have a tie-in at the base of them to be able to expand, add additional dispensers for larger events. And a thirsty building program. Through our Healthy Campus initiative, a graduate student completed a study looking at how many hydration stations we had in buildings. It was identified there was a deficit, and we're now working to install hydration stations in every building, not every station, but every building. And there's a competition going on right now for creating signage to better identify hydration stations. And the other deficit we saw was that our Office Depot currently, the portal where our departments purchase office supplies, didn't offer real compostable products. They were a little bit greenwashing. I actually just had a conversation with our rep, and he's going to be fixing that. And in addition, because UCLA vending will be losing some funding off of the changes to the vending contracts as well, we are asking them to carry some world-centric compostable products that departments can purchase from them as well. So that's to help the departments transition. That was actually a request made from departments asking where they could purchase, so we want to make that easier. And we are working on more training and awareness campaigns with departments and student orgs. The student orgs will probably be the most difficult. They've got 1,200 on campus. So that's something that we're going to be working with some student orgs to develop that. Kiki?
Yes, I need you to change the slide. Oh, there it is. I do want to add to that, while the single-use plastics policy is targeting mostly our food service, it does include a little tidbit saying that all departments should be moving towards the single-use
Kiki,
policy.
you're buffering a bit.
Hello? Is it working?
Yeah, there you are. You're clear now. Yep.
Okay. So we do ask that all departments and student orgs work towards the policy, and we provide all the resources for them to help them find alternative options. This is going to be a large implementation. It's not going to happen, just overnight. You can see there that we installed a water station, but then they still put cups, single-use plastic cups there for students. So again, it just takes time, a lot of education, just breaking down behavior that's been ingrained for a very long time. So again, we really want to provide departments with the resources to install these kind of hydration stations. We are working on a resource called Back to the Tap. We modeled it off of UC Berkeley's model, which is I Heart Tap Water. Again, you'll see that document towards the end. We just need so much training for all the stakeholders because they're so used to just ordering bottled water and being done with it. But we're seeing day by day that people are looking for change. They're tired of ordering these teeny tiny water bottles for just 2 sips of water and just throwing it away. CalRecycle has been such a wonderful resource. They provide us information sessions for us that talk about all of their new policies that revolve around food waste, food service. They are also coming out with a new policy that's currently in commenting period where they are asking us to make a list of all the recyclable and confirmed recyclable products, confirmed compostable products, and these will only be the ones that are going to be allowed and sold, and they're going to be publicizing this list for us. So it's helping us push our policies on campus as well because we know it's going to be coming, so we might as well work towards it now. System-wide on-campus sustainable procurement is equally important. As a campus, we have large purchasing power, and they have the power to make the change within vendors. And once we define that, once we are asking them what we need to have on campus, they will be able to only purchase that, and it will influence other people around us, around the nation. And lastly, we want to make a guide for our campus. Surveying our off-campus caterers, because while we like our on-campus caterers, sometimes we want something a little bit different. Some people will go to Westwood Village, which is just right outside of campus boundaries, and order, for example, a bunch of Chick-fil-A. Well, Chick-fil-A doesn't really exactly provide the most sustainable packaging options, so we're trying to figure out what's in the area and see if we can create a guide that will recommend or just provide information for the campus community about what to order and what's available and what can they do to be more sustainable with their purchases.
And the CalRecycle info sessions are one of those things that we're going to launch right before COVID, and they're now we're waiting until the end of the summer to do it even virtually for our food service providers. And that's a behavior, that's a sort of engagement tool that we're using. They've been pushing back pretty heavily on some of these policies, and we wanted to make it clear to them that actually these are pending legislations that are coming as well. So this isn't just about the university being difficult. So trying to just bring them more on the fold. I'm going to skip this slide. You can certainly review it later, but as we all know, there's lots of different stakeholders that are out there on our campuses, and it's important to engage them. And so some of the key points from this process, it's been a very diverse implementation process of starting to roll out infrastructure, roll out tools. We've got a lot of different layers of training. That system-wide training that was mentioned earlier was something that was put together, and again, they had gotten half the campuses done, and we were delayed because of COVID. But it's about helping the personnel understand that there are all these policies, how they comply with them. There's some of our waste audit data that we're showing, again, shows that we need to spend some time with takeout and delivery areas as well. We still have to target the small one-off events. How do we deliver water in the different ways? And that's actually going to be addressed in our water guide that we're creating. I've got a student that's finalizing that now. We will have an exemption process. This has to be developed, but we already have one similar to the styrofoam exemption process. That process is departments or companies can apply for an exemption. It's an annual a process, and in their submission or their request, they must outline their strategy to reduce what they're producing and how they're going to make progress to a total elimination. They don't automatically get re-upped each year. They have to show progress. And again, you know, really looking at that locally compostable and moving to marine degradable. So like I said, next steps, we're in a 1-month community comment period. We are expanding an understanding of niche usage areas like our campus tours, for example. They have these all small bottles and they're sending people out on tours and it gets hot, and how do we handle that? Developing these trainings, expanding our hydration stations. The student orgs are actually going to be one of the biggest challenges, as well as expanding past campus borders, and that exemption process I just mentioned. So sorry, we went a little bit over, but again, these materials will be available to you.
Thank you so much. We're gonna move on to our final presenter, but if it's okay, people can contact you using this information here.
Absolutely.
Some follow-up questions, and I see there's a lot of really good questions. A lot of people really curious about some different aspects of things. So I encourage you, if you have any questions for these two presenters, go ahead and copy down their information. And thank you so much for taking your time to join us.
Thank you.
Okay. Our final presentation of the day is Gioia Thompson, the director of the Office of Sustainability at the University of Vermont. To introduce, we like to just point out that Gioia received a BA in Environmental Studies in 1987 with an honors thesis on municipal leaf composting and a Master's of Science in Natural Resources in 2000 on indicators of sustainability in higher education from the University of Vermont. After working in the recycling arena, she came back to UVM in 1996, serving on the Environmental Council and then as the director of the Office of Sustainability. Gioia has been a part of defining and maintaining UVM's commitments to ending bottled water sales, buying at least 20% real food, reducing energy use, buying 100% renewable electricity, earning a minimum rating of LEED Silver on major construction projects, and earning Stars Gold rating for overall performance. So please welcome Gioia.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm gonna make you share your screen now. So there you go.
Show my screen. All right.
Perfect.
Except you don't want to see that.
Yeah, we can just go to the present mode.
Getting there. All right. So, hi, everybody. Can you see my picture here?
Yep, good to go.
All right. So this is scenic Burlington, Vermont, and University of Vermont has about 15,000 community members, and we all drink the water from that lake you're looking at, the Lake Champlain, and then water that we drink gets processed and goes back into the lake again. So we're very conscious about the water in this particular this community. It's something that we have plenty of it, but we think about it. Okay, how am I going to progress? Next. Uh-oh, why can't I do this? How do I make it work? It's not progressing to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Sorry, folks, this has worked fine before. Do I have to actually choose the slides? Guess so. So the idea of not selling bottled water anymore came from students, and they were very active in the 2000, between like 2000 and, say 2004, they really started heating up their protests of various things, and they got focused on water. So they also took over the Student Government Association and passed very detailed and academic sounding resolutions in support of something they called a sustainable beverage system. So lots of whereases in the resolutions, as well as activities such as these ones where they collected empty water bottles and made displays of them. So lots of conversation over the years, for several years, ended up with deciding to end our exclusive beverage sponsorship, which is called pouring rights. I've heard that term earlier. Pouring rights is a terrible term. It's really, it has nothing to do with rights. We really shouldn't ever use that term, in my opinion. The idea was to provide more diverse beverage choices, and the students really wanted to see the end of bottled water. So I was at UVM this whole time, and I had a really hard time understanding, why do you want to just focus on water? Why not water, bottled beverages that are water plus other crap? And they said, no, it's about the water, focus on the water. So I said, okay, I'll try to do that. I still don't get it. We studied the data and looked at what people were drinking in containers between 2007 and 2010. We did get the data, and there's a lot of soft drinks. And you could see circled here on the left side, over the course of those years, we saw a reduction in the consumption of soft drinks. So an increase in the consumption of honest tea, and we saw a big reduction in bottled water because there were campaigns all this time against the purchase of bottled water. So without doing anything official, there was that much of a reduction. There was also a great deal of interest in fair trade, having other attributes such as organic and fair trade beverages. There were academic connections, and an important one was an environmental studies thesis in 2011, and that resulted in a lot of conversations on campus. We also had a class in the fall on social research methods for a senior level class that got into all sorts of interesting questions, such as, is smart water bottled water? And the answer was, yeah, we're not selling that. We don't want to sell that. UVM has a food systems spire or center, and they were thinking, there were some there who were thinking about, well, what's going to happen if you just stop selling water and you don't stop selling the other stuff? Are people going to be drinking a lot more unhealthy beverages? And we also had an intern who did a map of all the campus, the water fountains on campus, and took pictures of them and put them in a Google map to figure out, okay, which ones are we going to upgrade? So we also, so things went along, and the decisions got to be that we would not sell flat, unflavored, unadulterated water, and that would end in January 2013, that there were going to be a minimum number of healthy options as defined by the American Heart Association, that the percentages were a topic of discussion. The big deal was adding bottle fillers, like the one you see here in the picture, lots of those around campus. The decision was that there would be at least one bottle filler on water fountains in every building, preferably on the first floor. But we also did the kind of thing that other presenters talked about, like having a competition and having people make suggestions about where to put in all of those filling stations. We decided against filtration, and it was really because of the maintenance issues. It's true that it tastes better with filters, but it's also true that if you don't replace the filters, it's bad for your health. So we decided to just let people, after a lot of taste tests and seeing if people notice the difference, really what people wanted was cool water. And so we added chillers. And partly the idea is there are fewer bacteria that way, I suppose, but definitely tastes better. We did not give away bottles. People thought that was a terrible idea, said it's just that students can buy their own bottles, and they should have their own, personalize their bottles. So that was interesting because there was a lot of interest on the part of staff and dining and giving things away, but students don't like that, so we didn't do that. The other thing we did was we stopped allowing people, or really limited the number of office water coolers, and that was a source of quite a bit of annoyance. but we figured out that we're saving about $45,000 a year worth of water deliveries by doing so. And it meant there were a lot of trucks not coming around and delivering water to the buildings. And so we liked that idea. That worked pretty well. People got over it. Lots of filling stations. I said we mapped them. We have so many old fountains on campus, all kinds of different things. And the top left one here, the LK, seemed like what people initially wanted to have, but we actually had students telling us they didn't like those. They didn't like the bottle counters. They thought the rubber mats were gross, and then they found out how much they cost, and they said, no way. So they were not supportive of that. They were supportive of just retrofitting. So these are the kinds of things that the plumbers had to retrofit. There was quite a lot of complaining among the plumbers. So I went and spoke to them and encouraged them and talked up their work with the students a lot, because this was a lot of extra work. It ended up costing somewhere $120,000 worth of retrofits. So then we had to tell people what was going on, and it was hard to explain, I have to say. First, there were signs of the bottle filling stations, new ones, not the old ones that people had put up sort of randomly, but fresh and official looking ones. Signage, there's that map that we put online on the campus map. And the big thing was making sure that the cashiers and the retail locations for dining had some info sheets, because they really didn't want to have to be explaining this stuff to people who were scratching their heads at the register. So, and then also putting up the signs like this one that's on the cooler. We put signs like this on the cooler. We had a big bottled water retirement party that was pretty ridiculous, and it was fun, with an archway that was made out of plastic bottles. That was the archway that we could all walk through, the people who had been participating in this. And the archway was called Inherently Unstable and Prone to Collapse, which was kind of the metaphor for the whole system of serving food that people were seeing. So people had a lot of fun with the artistic aspect of it. And there was also a lot of conversation with the governance groups, specifically staff council and student government. They were actively involved with telling people on campus what this was about. So here's another one of the signs. We had a website too. So in 2014, I'll try to be quick. Here are some of the issues. Really had to be, the bottle filling stations had to be easy to clean. We had to have that big chunk of money, and we figured out how to manage it. Got to deal with the issues with accessing drinking water for free in the retail dining areas. That took some conversations. And the biggest problem was, again, providing water at outdoor events. Excuse me, that's telling me I've got to hurry up. So what happened then was that a study was published, that you probably heard about, by a faculty member who teaches nutrition, or did teach nutrition at UVM, Rachel Johnson, looking at the consequences of removing the bottled water. And so they looked at the numbers from over 3 semesters and tried to see what happened after after ending the bottled water sales. And the result was that they found that there was more sugary beverages sold more. And their conclusion was that this was not a good idea, and it didn't reduce the number of bottles entering the waste stream. So a lot of pushback there, and lots of questions from people around the country about, well, what's going on here? But the reality was, I guess I'll just go back so you can look at that while I tell you that the reality was that so many things had changed between the baseline semester and the spring semester, that it was really hard to tell if those numbers actually, how good those numbers were. If any of you have tried to get the numbers and dig into them and see ounces versus containers, you'll see how hard that is. And the experience on campus was different from, was not rejecting this at all. So what happened since then is that people have just happily gotten used to this and haven't heard any complaints at all about this policy from students. Visitors occasionally wonder, but the big thing that we tried that didn't work, I should tell you about, was having some Coca-Cola freestyle machines. This was something where there's a free water option, but it was where you could create all kinds of different beverages using this one machine, and you sell these bottles that and students can refill. Students didn't like those at all, unfortunately. But okay, so that one thing didn't work. But generally, I think it's gone really well. Again, there's some questions. So my conclusions include 3 questions as well as 3 things that are working well. On the questions, people off campus are really interested in the data. People on campus don't care anymore. But the way I see it, it's going to be really hard to compare before and after for anybody, and especially if you're doing something like changing contracts or changing the parameters of your contract or changing the number of events you're holding. You know, all those sorts of things make it really hard to compare. And you can't really compare among institutions easily, both because the data sets aren't comparable, but also because really it's not something that academics are going to get any rewards to study with that level of complexity. It's just not the data sets available to make it a serious form of study. So to me, it's a cultural change, something that either works for you or doesn't. You have to figure out what, you know, what flavor, but doing something did get us lots of kudos, and people are now used to carrying their own containers. We don't have a problem with that. When students are interested in coming to the university, they hear about this and they bring their own containers just like they bring their own backpacks. We did, after that study, we conducted an educational campaign called UVM Hearts Water to emphasize that the policy was about the water even more than about the containers. And if I could go to the next one, I think I just want to say, oops, oh, I'm running out of time. But those are some things to consider. I'm just going to show you where the resources are. We do have some information on our website, including the UVM Hearts Water image, which looks something like sort of a brainwashing method here. Have little clips like this in the dining halls or in the retail, where it's just 12 seconds of a, oops, how to make that go away, you know, of a water drop and then a little message, and people like those. Okay, so that's what I got. We've run out of time. How am I going to find my way back to where I was going?
I'll take it over. Got it. Thank you so much, and thank you for all our panelists, and thank you for walking us through that.
Oh my God, this is something terrible. Very sorry.
Oh, no problem. If we have like a couple overall questions for our panelists as a whole, but I think if we're going to leave with one, because it's already after 3, is if anybody wants to tackle this. I know there's a lot of unknowns now, but what do we expect to change after the COVID crisis on these campuses, as far as plastic and reusable pushbacks and expectations of, or fear of using reusable containers? I'll open that up to anyone who wants to give it a shot.
So we haven't heard anything on that score. In fact, our hospital was having problems with getting Dasani delivered, our UCLA hospital, and so they actually have expressed an interest in some more countertop dispensers. So that's the hospital saying that, and that was as recently as three weeks ago.
I can tell you that at Vanderbilt currently, for the students who were unable to move back home for whatever reason, a lot of them international students, so we have approximately 450 students that are still on campus, and So we are still serving out of one of our main dining facility. We're still serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's all to go. And I think that as this situation changes daily, so does the answer change daily, or the response changes daily. But at this point, I'm hearing that, you know, we have to consider continuing to look at offering food to go. Fortunately, all of our to-go containers have long been compostable, so at least there's that piece of it in place. But currently, it looks like everything will be served to go for a while.
Okay, thank you for taking a shot at that. We'll definitely keep that in mind moving forward. And for everybody, you all had amazing questions and so much to talk about. And we will be taking down this list of questions from everybody and sending them along to our panelists who can offer questions if they can, and not if they can't. And then we'll upload those alongside our webinar on our website, which should be up in the next couple of days. That once again, our website is www.curc3r.org. Yeah. As an organizer, Bonnie, only me and Larry can see the questions rolling in, I believe. But we'll send those along to you because there's a lot of good ones. Some final notes. Our next webinar will be Thursday, June 18th. That's going to be about reaching your collaborators and communicating for connection and education, just like we've talked about a lot today. That's been collaborating and reaching those campus partners across our very siloed campuses can be extremely important for the success of a program. So we're going to try to focus on that in June. And then there's also an online call to action from UC Mercer that's going to be talking about activating local community food and resource exchange using some specific tools. And I can send the link along to that in the chat in a minute if you wait around. Once again, I'd like to thank our webinar partner, AASHE, for all the logistical and promotional support that they give us for the series. It means so much to us to be able to continue on this way to connect with our members, even during this time of upheaval. And following this webinar, you should receive a prompt to complete a quick survey. We encourage you to take a minute to give us feedback on today's program. Let us know what worked. Let us know what didn't. One last time, thank you to all of our presenters, Suzanne, Bonny, Kikei, Gioia, for all your presentations today. We really appreciate it. It was amazing to have you on and to hear from you. And everybody who attended, you will receive links to the presentations and a recording of the program within the next day or so. So I hope you all have a good afternoon, and thanks for joining us.